Right, let's dive straight into it. Sleep, this matters. So I'm not going to waste your time and tell you to get 8 hours. But what I want to tell you is something most people never connect. And once you hear it, you will not be able to unhear it. One of the main things Mounjaro does, or one of the reasons people say it changes their overall relationship with food, it comes down to something called food noise. Now, we've known a lot about this for a long time, but more so over the last couple of years. It's that constant background craving that's got nothing to do with actually being hungry. And a lot of TikTok videos are explaining it a lot better as well now. But it's that evening pull. Even though you had dinner just 2-3 hours ago, you're being surrounded by food. Post-pandemic, this became a bit of a problem. So it's that restless need for something when your stomach's perfectly fine. But here's what's actually happening when the food noise kicks in, because this is the part a lot of people tend to forget. Your body runs on 2 hunger hormones that balance each other out. Leptin, so think of this as the volume knob that turns the hunger down, and ghrelin, the alarm that turns the hunger up. And when both are working properly, your brain gets like accurate signals, right? So you feel satisfied when you've eaten enough, the cravings stay quiet, and everything is cushy. But one bad night of sleep throws both of them off at the same time, and I've struggled with this a lot as well. Leptin drops, ghrelin spikes, your brain wakes up the next morning, already convinced you're starving, even if you just had, a nice big meal the night before. And now we're seeing, especially over the last couple of years, that the studies are showing this hormonal shift is enough to push how much you eat the next day up by around 20%. And the worst part is you don't even notice it. Okay, so for a woman eating around, let's say 1800 calories, that's an extra potential 300 to 360-ish calories every single day after a bad night. And then she'll blame her willpower. She will tell herself, she just lacks discipline. But the problem is it was never about the discipline. And this is within South Asian community, it's so bad because we already see a lot of women get put down. They do not have enough support around them, especially when it comes to weight loss. It was basically just one late night doing something biological to her hunger hormones that she had no idea about. And here's a part that directly connects to Mounjaro. So the food noise she's fighting the next day, Mounjaro suppresses it chemically. So her body suppresses it naturally through leptin. So when sleep is protecting that system, every time she sacrifices sleep, she's switching off her own built-in version of what that drug does basically, and then wondering why the individual cannot stop eating, but you don't pay attention to the fact that your sleep is quite poor. So you're probably thinking, I do not have a choice about when I sleep. I have a household to run. I'm the last one up and the first one who's awake. I hear that. This is not about 8 perfect hours. It is about understanding just what the impact can be, because at least that way you've got a bit of context and you'll be able to work on it. That's honestly, even just having that a bit of awareness is going to be massive for you. So the next one is something I call the sequence shift, right? So you need protein. You need fruits and vegetables and fiber. I'm not going to tell you any of that because again, this could be just another boring video. You've heard it already. But what you probably have not heard is this. The order that you eat your food in changes the hormonal response your body produces. Now, I was against this for a long time. I never used to believe in this because I believe it was a glucose goddess that she kind of annoyed me actually with some of the content that she put out. But now we're seeing some pretty positive effects by having more fiber at the beginning of the meal and more protein. So every time you eat protein, chicken, eggs, dal, lentils, low-fat paneer, your gut releases a hormone called GLP-1. Okay, so you know what this is? You've heard of it, right? You've Googled it. So it's glucagon-like peptide 1, the exact hormone Mounjaro mimics. So your body makes it automatically. Every meal. The question is how much of it you produce and how long it stays active. This is why these drugs are bloody powerful. So fiber works a bit better as well, especially when it's paired with protein, because it essentially lands in the same place. So when you eat high fiber foods, lots of grains, seeds, and that sort of thing, the good bacteria in your gut ferment it and produce a compound called butyrate. Now think of butyrate like as a chemical messenger your gut sends upwards saying, we're fed, slow down, satiety is among us. And that message triggers more GLP-1 release. And it also physically slows how fast your stomach empties, which means the fullness signal keeps reaching your brain for longer. Now, together, protein and fiber are the ultimate combination. I genuinely believe those who consume lots of protein and fiber in their diet will have no problem losing weight. And I've always stood by that, and I've done it with my clients as well, and it's worked tremendously well. Now, this is where the order part comes in, all right? So eating fiber and protein before your carbs produces a stronger, longer lasting GLP-1 response than eating the same foods after carbs. And I've been known to do this for a long time actually. Even my friends and family see that I'm a very slow eater and I get full quite quickly. It's out of habit. Even when I need to increase my calories, I've got a bad habit of having my veggies and my protein first. I just can't help it. So the fiber forms a physical gel in your gut. Picture like cling film lining your intestine. That slows the absorption of everything that comes after it. That's kind of what it is. So your blood sugar rises more slowly. You feel full sooner and you naturally eat less of, the palatable digestible foods that we struggle with. That's why I always say to Desi people, always have some veggies at the side. You need this because we are bad at overeating. Now, the next tip is volume foods and Desi soups. Now, I know volume eating has been around for a long time. It's a buzzword, but here's another thing Mounjaro does that most people do not realize. It slows, and I kind of touched on it earlier, it slows how quickly your stomach empties, right? Food sits in there longer, and because your stomach has something called stretch receptors, you know, tiny pressure sensors that are kind of like built into the stomach wall that fire like a fullness signal directly to your brain when they're activated. You know, keeping food in the stomach longer means those sensors keep firing, right? So your brain keeps getting the message, you know, we're full, stop eating. And that is a physical mechanism. I wish we all had this, a real one. I wish a lot of people were more in tune with this. And you can activate it without a prescription. You know, high volume foods, foods that take up a lot of space in your stomach without carrying much energy, calories. So they physically press against those stretch receptors. They tell your brain to slow down before the high calorie part of the meal even arrives, and you end up eating less of the heavy stuff. Not because you're restricting yourself, but because your body's genuinely telling you we're full. And that's why a lot of people love watermelon, because it is quite low calorie but very high volume. Now here's where it gets interesting, right? Your kitchen already has a tool to do this, okay? You just stop using them the way they were designed. So think about what a bowl of thin dal does, right? It fills your stomach. The stretch receptors fire, GLP-1's released, and by the time the biryani arrives, your brain's already starting receiving those fullness signals. You want a smaller portion, not because you decided to eat less, but because your biology is asking for less. And that's why, especially like in the Japanese and the Korean culture, they love their soups. And that's why, and I'm not saying soups are keeping them thin. No, but a lot of these foods do have quite high volume. A lot of these bodybuilders that you see, especially on YouTube, and they're sharing their cutting hacks, you'll notice they consume a lot of soups because it keeps them quite full. Now, the last point is something I've done with clients and it's worked quite well. Now, this is simple. It's quite cheap. I don't recommend it to everyone, especially if you've got gut-related problems. So if you've got issues with stomach acid, then maybe keep an eye on this one. I'm going to be straight with you exactly about what this one does and what it does not do, because you deserve honesty, right? Not hype. Same mechanism as volume foods, sparkling water. Okay, now carbonation creates temporary expansion in the stomach. The stretch receptors respond, the fullness signals, it kind of fires from all cylinders, and the effect is modest, I would say. It's not going to replace a meal or suppress serious hunger, but it has one specific job, and it does well, and that job is the snack window. Okay, that's kind of where it helps. I say to people, you don't have to worry about diet fizzy juices all the time. You know, I know there's a lot of research saying that they're not ideal for your gut health, which is cool. Like, I can get on board with that. So I wouldn't tell people to have a diet Pepsi every single night. And most people have a window between lunch and dinner, roughly kind of like 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. where the food noise builds, you know, not real hunger, but habit hunger. The brain is looking for something out of routine, out of boredom, out of fatigue and tiredness, and that is when the biscuit tin gets open, and that's when the crisps come out. And a large glass of sparkling water, or even just bottled sparkling water in that window, activates the stretch receptors just enough to take the edge off. It won't fix all your problems, but what it will do is it will buy you time. So if you find that no matter what snacks you have, nothing's really filling the gap, you can even just get some flavored ones as well and just have some sparkling water. It works wonders. A lot of people who intermittent fast, it's become like a bit of a cult hero and amongst them, because a lot of people drink the San Pellegrino sparkling water. Now, let's bring that all together, right? So Mounjaro copies a hormone that your body already produces. Your body's been producing this for freaking years, since you were born, right? So sleep protects the hormones that keep the food quiet, okay? So just remember that. So the moment you have some bad sleep, it's going to cause problems. The sequence shift, so having your fiber and your protein before your carbs and everything else, important. Volume foods, making sure that your foods are dense, low calorie, soups. Get creative, man. Go on YouTube and look at some Japanese soups and Korean soups. It works brilliantly well. Tom yum soups, miso soup, which is one of my favorite. Yes, I know they're in packets, but you can get them and get some seaweed from Holland & Barrett and put that in your bowl. Works wonders. And then finally, sparkling water. Again, it's not going to fix all your problems, but it is one of the better options out there. So hopefully this helped you. Now, if you're watching this video, weight loss is something that you're concerned about, or maybe you want to learn more about. If that's the case, I made a video where I took 3 clients and I got them doing 0 workouts. I got them doing 0 workouts and they all lost weight. So before you go, if that piques your interest, please do watch that, because there's a couple of things in here that may surprise you. Stick around and I'll see you in the next video.